Welcome friends, it's Caleigh Bird, and I hope that you guys are ready to learn how to draw some hands, because today I have got part one. We are going to talk about basic structure, shape, and proportions, and this is going to get you started on a roller coaster ride that you will not even believe, and at the end you are going to be drawing the most beautiful hands you can possibly imagine. So make sure you pop that subscribe button and ding the bell, because I always got your best art-based advice and fine art tutorials. Okay, for the most basic element of the human hand, you want to think about it as tubes coming off of a flat cube. This is where we're going to start, all right? Everybody knows we got 5 fingers and we got 5 tubes coming off of a flat cube, okay? So when I say tubes, of course, what I really mean is cylinders. And although our finger is a straight up and down, like this, don't forget we have knuckles. So that means each finger is actually like 3 tubes. So how we would want to draw a finger, think about your 3-dimensional cylinders here, right? Curve on one end, an oval on the other, right? So that's how we show a three-dimensional tube or cylinder. And now we need 3 of them. So then we would have another one on top of this. So think about this being the space of your knuckle right here. So we've got our 3 tubes. And they sit very close, but there's a little bit of space between them. So you wouldn't see the entire other side of your tube. And remember too that they are your fingers, so they get smaller as they go up. So I will actually make this one a bit smaller. And now this gives you the concept of a finger that bends. Think about the 3 bones in there, the 3 components of your finger, right? So there we go, step 1. So in the very most basic of sense, you really need to think about your palm as being sort of a rectangular shape, right? And then you'll have a little volume, of course. And then your fingers are basically cylinders, tubes, okay? So your thumb, I'm only going to do 2 knuckles on the thumb because a large part of your third part is actually overlapping, so that would sort of be in this region. And then you're going to think about your 4 tubes coming up. So we started off with an extremely rough concept. Now we're going to refine this shape a little bit, because the palm of your hand is not exactly rectangular, and your hands certainly do not line up in a straight angle. Your fingers actually line up at a bit of a slope. So if we notice, the palm of our hand is more straight down, and then there's a nice slope. So we want to remember to incorporate that. So instead of having it straight up and down for our rough sketches, it is a good plan to have your hand more in this kind of shape. Now this is what we want to do while we are conceptualizing and learning the movements of the hand. So these need to come more round, right? So look at how low your pinky actually starts from the front of your hand. So our hand is more like this shape coming down. So now let's think about where each of those fingers are actually starting. So we've got your main one, and then your second one, your middle finger. Ring finger is going to be ever so slightly thinner, right? Middle finger is going to be, well, the middle and the ring are often very equal. So middle and ring are usually quite equal. Ring finger is slightly smaller. And of course, pinky, look at that. The pinky can start almost at where the other ones actually, or the second knuckle can start almost at the first knuckle of those. So we're not going to do it quite that extreme, but you can see that shape is much more mirrored, of course, than that flat shape, okay? Now we're going to want to remember that this space is equal to this space when the palm is up, but when it's curved, this knuckle is much longer than this knuckle. So we're going to deal with the palm facing up, but look at this. This is much longer, shorter, and then shorter, whereas here we don't see all the way to that knuckle. We only see to here. So this will equal this. However, it will slightly taper. Paying attention to where they lie. Oh look, mine needs to be a little bit longer. My middle one is a little bit longer. Of course, everybody's is different. That's why we pay attention to our model as much as possible. And then, last but not least, this one is going to be slightly shorter, as you can see. See from the side, by far the shortest knuckle, and this one tapers and has a nice rounded end. All right, proportionally. Now let's deal with that thumb over there, okay? So, get rid of some of this. That thumb now comes in towards the bottom, right? Now, in our hands, our bones, everything meets here, but because of this bit of fat and muscle, we're only really going to pay attention to the first two on that thumb, okay? So remember that first one is sort of coming out this direction. Pretty much meets right where the palm is. So we're going to mostly focus on these two, and these are going to be a bit wider than your widest one, and not quite as long. So there we go. That is much more closely related to the actual shape of a hand. Okay, now a few fun things to remember. We all have these wonderful lines on our hand, and underneath them is sort of the back of our knuckles. So you can feel this sort of a raised ridge right around where those lines of our hands are. So if you think about where the lines of the hands are, right around in here, proportionally, this right here should equal this. So these two right here should equal to that line. So the line from here to here equals that to my line. From here to here equals that to my line. From here to here equals that to that line. Do you see this? From this line to my crease, that equals that proportion. This line to that line. So think about this size matching this size. This size matching this size. So there's a few inner proportions for you. Then I also want you to think about the hand is not in a circle. The hand is not a circular shape, right? It is more of an oblong shape. So if you think about the hand in a circle, coming here and around, is the direction of the hand, right? So that's where you're going to get this curve of your hand to the knuckle, and then your fingers are going to follow that same curve. So look at this curve to the hand. It's hard to do this because I have all kinds of things in my way. But this curve matches the knuckles, and then they go along another curve. And then they go along another curve. So think about, as you're doing your proportions, remember there's a beautiful curvature to the way everything meets and lines up, right? I think I have this one a little bit short. That should actually meet right up there. Perfect. So think about that curvature of your hand. And then, last but not least, should have done this one before I did the curves, but this area, here to here, is going to match from here to here, and that's the bottom of your thumb knuckle, basically, right here. So this matches this. So right here matches this to this, and it's about the halfway point on your palm where that meaty part happens. So your upper digits, you can use the lines for proportion, and then your lower one, you can use the meat on your palm. So those are the proportions of an outstretched hand that are key that you want to remember. Hopefully you learned so much from parts 1 and 2 of my hand drawing workshop. Now, to catch the rest of it, you'll need to pop over to my special Skillshare class, or you can find it on my website. And both of these have options for you to get actual technical feedback from me throughout your process. We're going to go over some dynamic practice using the shapes we just learned, as well as how tendons interact with the movement of the hand. Then I'm going to teach you both block-in and rough sketch methods to get your initial drawing down. Then finally, we're going to create beautiful, delicate, refined works of art where I will show you how to create the most realistic skin on both white and toned paper. I hope you're ready for this. My workshop will encompass everything you need to know to draw beautiful hands correctly. Check down below for links. I got all the information for you there. Thanks, folks. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next week.